Part 1. The Road to Duskwood. Asterisk. The sun was sinking behind the trees when Ethan Cole's car rolled past the crooked wooden sign. Asterisk. Welcome to Duskwood. Population 237. Asterisk. The paint was peeling. The letters barely visible. A black crow perched on top, staring down as if guarding something. Asterisk. Ethan wasn't supposed to be here. He was a journalist from Chicago, chasing a rumor, a story about a village that disappeared for 7 years and then mysteriously reappeared on the map. No one in the state records could explain it. The people living here claimed nothing ever happened. Asterisk. The road was narrow, swallowed by thick pine and fog. His GPS blinked and died. No signal. He sighed, tapping the screen. Then he saw her, a woman in a white dress, standing by the roadside, barefoot, her hair covering her face. Asterisk. He hit the brakes. Heart hammering. Asterisk. Ma'am, are you okay? He called, stepping out. Asterisk. But when he reached the spot, she was gone. Only footprints leading into the woods. Asterisk. Something moved in the trees, soft whispering like voices carried by the wind. Ethan froze. Leave while you can. Asterisk. He turned around, scanning the empty road. Who's there? Asterisk. Only silence. And then the whisper again, this time from behind him. Asterisk. He spun around and saw a shadow slide across the ground, long and thin, like a person made of smoke. Asterisk. Panicked. Ethan stumbled back into his car and drove faster, deeper into Duskwood. The village appeared suddenly, as if it had been waiting for him. Old houses leaned against each other like tired ghosts. A dog barked somewhere, then stopped abruptly. Asterisk. At the edge of the square stood an inn. The Pine Hollow Lodge. The old man behind the counter looked surprised when Ethan entered. You shouldn't have come here after dark, the man said quietly. The woods don't like strangers. Asterisk. Ethan forced a smile. I'm just here for a story. Asterisk. The man's eyes didn't move. Stories die here. Asterisk. That night, as the wind howled outside, Ethan lay in bed, unable to sleep. He could hear whispering again, not from outside, but from inside the walls. He pressed his ear to the wooden panels. Voices. Dozens of them. Asterisk. We never left. We never left. Ethan grabbed his flashlight, following the sound to the hallway. A door at the end was slightly open. Inside was a small attic room filled with old photographs, black and white faces of villagers, all smiling stiffly. Asterisks. But when Ethan shone the light on one particular photo, his blood ran cold. Asterisk. There, in the back row, stood a man who looked exactly like him. Asterisk. Same face, same eyes, same crooked scar above the eyebrow. Asterisk. The photo was dated October 6th, 1958. Asterisk. His hands trembled as the whispers grew louder. Asterisk. Welcome home, Ethan. The Shadows of Duskwood, Part 2. The House Beneath the Pines, approx. 1,000 words. The next morning, fog hung low over Duskwood like a veil. The streets were empty. Even the birds seemed afraid to sing. Ethan stepped outside the lodge, his camera slung round his neck, determined to find answers. Asterisk. The old innkeeper, Mr. Hollis, watched him from the porch. "You didn't sleep much," he said. Ethan hesitated. The walls were whispering. Asterisk. Mr. Hollis's expression didn't change. "Then they've noticed you." Asterisk. Before Ethan could ask what that meant, the man turned and went inside. Ethan began walking through the village. Houses leaned like broken teeth along the dirt road. A few faces peeked through curtains, but disappeared when he looked their way. It was as though the whole town breathed in silence. Asterisk. He stopped by the village church. Its bell tower half collapsed. An old woman sweeping the steps looked up as he approached. Asterisk. "You're not from here," she said, her voice dry as the autumn leaves around her. Asterisk. "No, I'm writing a piece about Duskwood's history. Some records say this town vanished for years. Can you tell me anything about that?" Asterisk. The woman's broom froze midair. "Records lie. The woods hide, that's all. Sometimes the forest closes its eyes. When it opens them again, some of us are gone." Asterisk. Ethan frowned. "Gone where?" Asterisk. She met his eyes beneath. The word lingered in his mind as he walked deeper into the woods surrounding the village. The trees grew unnaturally tall, their trunks twisting like ribs. The ground was soft, the air colder. Asterisk. He followed a narrow path until he saw something through the mist. A small wooden house half buried among the roots of towering pines. Its roof sagged, and the front door hung crookedly from one hinge. The house beneath the pines. He pushed open the door. The smell of damp earth and rot filled his lungs. Inside were fragments of old furniture, children's toys scattered across the floor, and a staircase descending into darkness. He switched on his flashlight. Footsteps echoed, but not his. Asterisk. Someone or something was moving below. Asterisk. Hello. He called. Asterisk. No answer. Only the slow creak of the stairs as he began to descend. The air grew colder, thicker. His light flickered. Asterisk. At the bottom was a narrow hallway leading to a cellar. On the wall, someone had scratched words into the plaster. Asterisk. They listen through the trees. A low whisper rose from the darkness, the same voice he'd heard last night. Ethan. Asterisk, he froze. Who are you? Asterisk, you shouldn't have come back. Asterisk, the beam of his flashlight trembled across the cellar. In the far corner stood a mirror, cracked and covered in dust. He wiped it with his sleeve and gasped. Asterisk. The reflection showed the cellar exactly as it was, except someone stood behind him. Asterisk, he spun around. No one. The whisper came again, right beside his ear. You died here before. Asterisk, Ethan stumbled backward, tripping over a wooden box. Inside were dozens of photographs, villagers all staring into the camera with empty eyes. The last photo was dated October 6th, 1958, just like the one he'd found in the lodge. Asterisk, and again. His face appeared among them. Asterisk, the whispering turned into many voices. Now, rising from the walls, the floor, the earth itself. Asterisk, beneath, beneath, beneath. Asterisk, the mirror cracked further, spiderwebbing until it shattered. Behind it was a small tunnel, freshly dug, leading deeper underground. Cold air poured out, smelling of old graves. Asterisk, Ethan aimed his flashlight inside. Something was moving down there, a shape, pale and slow, crawling toward him. Asterisk, he backed away, heart pounding. The voices screamed all at once, 1,000 whispers colliding into a single dreadful roar. Asterisk, he fled up the stairs, bursting out into the daylight, gasping for breath. The forest seemed to close behind him, trees bending slightly, as though hiding what he'd seen. When he returned to the village square, people were standing silently, watching him. Dozens of them, men, women, children, all pale, unmoving. At the front was the old woman from the church. You went beneath, she said softly. Now it knows your name. Asterisk, Ethan's camera beeped, low battery. He lifted it to take a photo of the villagers, but the screen only showed static. Asterisk, when he lowered it again, they were gone. The square was empty. The bell in the broken tower began to ring by itself. Clang, clang, clang. Ethan turned toward the sound and saw a figure standing in the tower's shadow, a man wearing his clothes. With his face, he smiled, the same crooked smile Ethan saw in the photograph. Welcome home. The other Ethan said. Asterisk. The Shadows of Duskwood. Asterisk. Part 3. The Mirror of the Lost One. The wind that swept through Duskwood that evening carried whispers like fragments of memory. Ethan sat inside his small room at the Pine Hollow Lodge, the dim light of an oil lamp trembling on the walls. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He had seen himself in the bell tower. Not a trick of light, not imagination, Someone, or something, was walking around with his face. The photo he had taken of the villagers had vanished from his camera. The memory card now showed corrupted files, each one labeled simply *U, *he, he exhaled slowly. This can't be real. But even as he said it, the whisper returned, curling around the corners of the room. You've been here before. Ethan grabbed his recorder. If this is real, he muttered, I'm documenting everything. He pressed the red button. This is Ethan Cole, October 7th, Duskwood, Oregon. I've discovered a series of anomalies. People who seem to recognize me, and the recorder stopped. Then it played back by itself. We remember you, Ethan. He dropped it, heart racing. Something knocked on the window. Once, twice, he turned his flashlight toward it. A shadow stood just outside a tall, motionless, its face pressed against the glass. The outline was unmistakable. It was him, when Ethan ran to the window. The figure was gone. Only frost remained, forming strange circular patterns on the pane-like rings of eyes staring back at him. The next morning, he went to the church again, hoping the old woman could explain. But the doors were locked. The village seemed emptier than before. He wandered toward the forest. Drawn by instinct, or maybe by the whispers that had grown louder since dawn. The path led him to an overgrown cemetery. Gravestones leaned at odd angles, names high-freezed by time. Crows perched silently above, as if waiting. Then he saw it, a cracked marble headstone with his name on it. Ethan Colborn, 1931. Died 1958, his legs nearly gave out. No. The ground beneath the grave shuddered slightly, like something moving below. He stumbled back, tripping over a piece of broken wooden mirror frame, buried in the weeds. The glass inside was fogged, but when he wiped it clean, the reflection wasn't his face. It was the other Ethan, pale, smiling, behind him. Dozens of figures stood, villagers, their eyes hollow and mouths whispering silently. Ethan threw the mirror aside. It didn't shatter, melted, sinking into the soil like liquid silver. From the earth came voices. Duskwood remembers. Duskwood reclaims. A cold hand shot from the ground and grabbed his ankle. Ethan screamed, kicking free and running toward the forest. Branches clawed at his clothes. Roots rose like serpents to trip him. The deeper he went, the darker it became, until even the daylight vanished behind the black canopy dot. He collapsed near an old cabin, the same one from yesterday, the house beneath the pines. But this time, smoke rose from its chimney. Someone was inside. He stepped closer, pushing open the door. The inside looked different, cleaner, as though time had reversed itself. A fireplace burned softly. Asterisk, and in a rocking chair sat Mr. Hollis, the innkeeper, except he looked decades younger. "You came home, Ethan," Hollis said, smiling faintly. "We've waited so long." Asterisk, Ethan's throat tightened. "What do you mean, home? I'm not from here." Asterisk, the man's smile widened. "You were, once, before you tried to leave." Asterisk, Ethan shook his head, backing away. "No, I'm from Chicago. I'm a journalist." Asterisk, journalist. Hollis chuckled. "You always said that every time you came back." Asterisk, he gestured toward the wall, where dozens of mirrors hung, each showing a different image of Ethan, screaming, running, hiding, dying. Asterisk, they're not reflections, Hollis said. They're memories. Asterisk, Ethan stared, horrified. Whose memories? Asterisk, Hollis leaned forward. Yours, all 7 of them. Asterisk, Ethan blinked. 7. The mirrors began to rattle violently, showing flickering images. Ethan in the 1930s, wearing old clothes. Asterisk, Ethan in the 1950s, taking photographs of the villagers. Asterisk, Ethan in the 1980s, driving through Duskwood with a camcorder. Asterisk, Ethan again and again, each version ending the same way. Death in the woods. Asterisk, you never left, Hollis said. You just forgot. Asterisk, the floorboards creaked as shadows spilled from the mirrors, forming human shapes. Each had his face. Each whispered in unison. Asterisk, join us. Finish the circle. Asterisk, Ethan stumbled back toward the door, but it slammed shut on its own. The fireplace roared, turning from orange to ghostly blue. Asterisk, he felt the ground trembling beneath him again. The same whispering from the cellar now came from all directions. Beneath, 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 beneath. Asterisk, he turned and smashed one of the mirrors with his flashlight. Instantly, the shadows screamed and vanished. Asterisk, when the lights settled, Hollis was gone. So was the cabin. Asterisk, Ethan stood alone in the middle of the forest, surrounded by fog. The mirrors were gone, but their whispers remained, echoing softly through the trees. Asterisk, you broke one. 6 remain. He ran until he reached the road again, gasping. The crooked sign at the entrance of Duskwood loomed before him. Asterisk, welcome to Duskwood, population 237. Asterisk, but now someone had carved into the wood beneath it. 238. Ethan looked at the number, then at the fog behind him, and he understood. The count had gone up. The shadows of Duskwood Part 4. The seventh reflection, approx. That night, the fog never lifted. It rolled through Duskwood's narrow streets like a living thing, curling under doors and slipping through cracks. The village slept uneasily, except for Ethan. He sat on the edge of his bed in Pine Hollow Lodge, clutching the flashlight that had already saved his life once. The battery was dying, and the whispering inside the walls hadn't stopped since sunset. Double quotes, 6 broken, 1 remains. He could almost feel the voices breathing through the timber, hundreds of unseen mouths murmuring in the dark. Ethan took out the photograph he'd found, the one from 1958. His own face stared back at him, surrounded by villagers. But this time, as he stared, he noticed something new. At the very bottom corner, faintly visible under the fold, were words written in red ink. Find the well. End the circle. The next morning, he packed his camera and a small recorder and walked toward the woods again. The trees grew thicker as he went north. Sunlight barely touched the ground. The silence was so deep that even his footsteps sounded wrong. After an hour, he found it, a stone well, half swallowed by moss, at the edge of a clearing. A single crow sat on its rim, watching him. Ethan knelt beside it and peered inside. Nothing but darkness. He dropped a pebble, waiting for the sound to hit bottom. Nothing. The air around him changed. The wind stopped. The forest held its breath. Then a voice echoed up from the well. His own voice. Don't look down. He staggered back. What the hell? A hand shot out from the darkness, pale and wet, gripping the edge of the stone. Another followed. Then ahead, his own face, dripping with black water, eyes empty and smiling. 6 of us returned. The reflection said, "You're the 7th." Ethan scrambled away, tripping over roots. The reflection climbed out, completely barefoot, clothes soaked, moving with slow, deliberate steps. You broke 6 mirrors, it said. We are what's left. Ethan backed against a tree. I'm not one of you. The reflection tilted its head. You already were. You just keep forgetting. It reached out a hand. Ethan felt a magnetic pull, the air itself bending. He turned and ran, branches tearing at his arms. But the forest wasn't letting him go. The trees began to move, slowly, deliberately, closing in. The whispering grew to a roar, not one voice, but many, all chanting the same words. Return what was taken. Return the 7th. Ethan stumbled into a clearing and froze. All 6 of his reflections stood there, lined up like soldiers. Each one wore a different decade's clothing, from the 1930s to now. Their eyes glowed faintly white in the fog. Asterisk, the oldest one stepped forward. You were the first. The circle began with you. Asterisk, he pointed toward the well behind them. You died there, Ethan. Every version of you. Every time you came back. Asterisk, Ethan's voice broke. Why? What is this place? The fog twisted upward, forming a shape, a woman's figure made of shadow and smoke. Her voice was soft, but terrible. Asterisk, Duskwood feeds on memory, she said. We take those who wander too deep, who see too much. Every 7 years, your soul returns to remember, to feed the forest again. Asterisk, Ethan fell to his knees. Then, how do I stop it? Asterisk, the woman's form flickered. Break the 7th reflection. Only one remains. Asterisk, she pointed toward the last mirror, hidden between the trees, standing upright in the clearing. Ethan hadn't noticed it before. Its surface rippled like water, showing his face, terrified, trembling, alive. He took a step forward. The other reflections began to scream. No. You'll end us all. Asterisk, he hesitated. His pulse thundered in his ears. If he broke it, would he die too? Asterisk, the woman's voice whispered again, softer now. There is no end without return. Ethan raised a rock and hurled it at the mirror. It shattered. Asterisk, the forest exploded in light, blinding white, like a sun beneath the earth. The reflections dissolved into mist, their screams echoing through the woods. The trees bent backward as if exhaling for the first time in centuries. Asterisk, Ethan collapsed. When he opened his eyes, he was lying beside the road. Asterisk, no fog, no whispers. The sign still stood. Welcome to Duskwood, population 237. His car was parked nearby, dusty but intact. His camera rested on the seat. He got in, heart pounding, and started the engine. Asterisk, the GPS flickered back to life. For the first time, it showed a signal. Asterisk, he drove until the trees thinned and sunlight poured through the windshield. For the first time since arriving, he felt free. Asterisk, he reached a gas station miles away and stopped to breathe. The attendant smiled. Asterisk, long drive. Asterisk, yeah, Ethan said. From Duskwood. Asterisk, the man's smile faltered. Duskwood, son. That town burned down in 1958. Ain't been there since. Asterisk, Ethan's chest went cold. That's impossible. I was just there. Asterisk, he turned toward his car. The reflection in the window didn't move with him. It smiled. The Shadows of Duskwood, Part 5. The voice beneath the well, up he, the highway, stretched endlessly ahead. But Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't truly gone. The trees on both sides of the road looked too familiar, tall pines bending slightly inward. As if watching, he drove faster, yet every few miles. The road signs repeated the same words. Duskwood to 2 miles. That couldn't be right. He'd been driving for nearly an hour. His knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. No, not again. The GPS flickered. The screen displayed one sentence in red. Return what you took. A crackle sounded from the radio, though it wasn't on. Then came the whisper, faint but unmistakable. Beneath, beneath. The same voice from the well. Ethan slammed the brakes. The forest loomed on both sides, identical to before. He opened the door, stepping into the silence. The air was thick, wet, and cold, the kind of cold that felt alive. The ground trembled once. Then again, he turned around and saw the old village road behind him, leading straight back into Duskwood. He hadn't left. He'd never left. The village was quieter than before. No wind, no movement, no sound at all. Houses leaned like corpses, their windows gaping open. The Pine Hollow Lodge was empty. Dust coated the counter. Cobwebs hung from the chandelier. It looked like no one had stepped inside for decades. Ethan's voice echoed as he whispered, "Mr. Hollis." No answer. Only the faint drip of water somewhere below. He followed the sound to the back of the building, where a narrow trapdoor led downward. It was the same cellar he had glimpsed on his first night. The air that rose from it smelled of rot and rain. He descended slowly, flashlight trembling in his hand. The wooden stairs creaked under each step. At the bottom, the dripping stopped. The cellar was filled with mirrors again, hundreds of them, lining the walls and ceiling. But now they were shattered, all except one in the center. The last mirror stood perfectly clean, its surface like black water. Ethan approached. His reflection didn't move. Instead, it smiled. "Welcome back," it said. Ethan staggered backward, shaking his head. "No. I ended this. I broke the last reflection. I saw the forest burn." The reflection tilted its head. "You broke the mirror, yes, but you didn't destroy what's beneath." What's beneath? The reflection's hand lifted and pointed behind him. Ethan turned. A trapdoor he hadn't noticed before lay in the corner, slightly ajar. The smell coming from it was unbearable. Mud, blood, and something older. Asterisk, he knelt, lifting it open. A narrow shaft of stone descended deep into the earth. Asterisk, the whispering began again, swirling through the cellar like wind. Asterisk, return what you took. He swallowed hard and began to climb down the ladder. The deeper he went, the louder the whispers became, overlapping until they formed words he could almost understand. Asterisk, you were the first. Asterisk, the watcher. The one who wrote. He reached the bottom. The space was circular, carved into the rock. Water trickled down the walls, gathering in a shallow pool at the center. Asterisk, and there, half submerged, was a body. He shone the flashlight and froze. It was him. Asterisk, the corpse was dressed exactly like he was, even down to the same camera around its neck. The skin was gray, lips blue, eyes open. Asterisk, Ethan stumbled backward. No, this isn't real. The whispers roared now, hundreds of voices overlapping. You took what was ours. Asterisk, you wrote the words. Asterisk, you bound us here. Asterisk, he clutched his head. I don't understand. Asterisk, a new voice rose above the rest, deep, ancient, female. The same voice he had heard at the well. Asterisk, you made Duskwood, she said. You wrote it. You brought it to life. Asterisk, the ground shook. The corpse in the water twitched, then sat up. Its eyes glowed faintly white. Asterisk, you're not a visitor, the voice continued. You're the author. Asterisk, Ethan's mind reeled. Fragments of memory flashed: papers, a typewriter, a publisher's letter. Years ago, he'd written a short story for a magazine, a horror story. Asterisk, it was called The Shadows of Duskwood. Asterisk, the title. The town, the curse, the names, everything. Asterisk, he whispered, I created this place. Asterisk, yes, the voice said. And every time someone reads it, the story begins again. You return. You write. You forget. Asterisk, Ethan fell to his knees. Then, how do I end it? Asterisk, erase it. The voice whispered. Burn the story. Burn every word. Asterisk, the corpse's hand reached out, touching his arm. Cold seeped into his skin. Asterisk, you can't leave, it said softly. You are the story. Asterisk, Ethan screamed, wrenching free, and climbed the ladder as fast as he could. The whispers followed him upward, filling his ears, his lungs, his blood. Asterisk, when he burst out of the cellar, the lodge was gone. The village was gone. Only the forest remained endless, shifting, whispering. Asterisk, the camera around his neck beeped. Its small screen flickered on. Asterisk, a recording was playing him. Speaking. Asterisk, this Ethan Cole. October 6th, 1958. I found the story. I'm not sure if it's mine or if I belong to it. Asterisk, he dropped the camera. The sound continued even after it hit the ground. Asterisk, and if anyone finds this, burn the pages before Duskwood wakes again. The Shadows of Duskwood, asterisk, Part 6, The Author's Curse, asterisk, asterisk. Rain hammered against the windshield as Ethan stumbled back onto the dirt road. The forest glowed faintly under each flash of lightning. Trees bending as if whispering secrets to one another. Asterisk, he had no idea where he was going anymore. His mind was full of echoes. Burn the story. Burn every word. Asterisk, but how do you burn something that exists inside you? Asterisk, he reached a clearing where the old motel once stood. The Duskwood Lodge sign lay half buried in mud, its paint peeling like old skin. In the center of the clearing rose a mound of ashes and blackened timber, the remains of the building that had burned years ago. Asterisk, yet when Ethan stepped closer, the air shimmered. The ashes rearranged themselves, forming faint outlines of walls, doors, rooms. For a moment, the motel stood whole again. Ghost-like, a single room on the top floor flickered with light. Ethan swallowed. No, you can't be back. Asterisk, the door creaked open on its own. Inside, he found a desk, his desk, with a typewriter sitting on it. A sheet of paper waited inside. Blank, except for one line at the top, greater than Chapter 1, The Return of the Author. His hands moved on their own. The keys began to strike, letters appearing faster than his thoughts. He tried to stop, but the machine kept going. Guided by invisible hands, asterisk, each word he typed appeared not only on paper, but also in the air around him, glowing, then dissolving into dust. Asterisk, greater than a man, returned to the place he had written into existence. Asterisk, the walls pulsed. The floor trembled. He realized, with horror, that every sentence rebuilt the motel stronger. Asterisk, he tore the page from the typewriter and threw it into the fireplace. It burned instantly, but the flame didn't stop at the paper. It leaped onto the walls, devouring the phantom wood. Asterisk screams rose from every corner. The voices of the characters he'd written. Asterisk, greater than Don't Erase Us. Asterisk, we were real. Asterisk, you made us live. Asterisk, the smoke thickened, black as ink. Shapes moved within it, faces, hands, mouths whispering his own words back to him. Asterisk, Ethan ran, coughing, stumbling through the collapsing halls. The exit sign flickered ahead, but when he burst through the door, He found himself standing not outside, but in another hallway, identical, endless. It's rewriting itself, he gasped. He looked down. The pages he'd burned were reforming on the floor. Words crawling like insects. And then he saw her, the woman from the well. Her white eyes glowed from the far end of the corridor. Her voice echoed like a memory. Asterisk, you cannot destroy what the world remembers. Asterisk, what are you? He demanded. Asterisk, I am the echo of your creation. Every reader gave me breath. Every retelling gave me form. Asterisk, lightning flashed through the broken windows. The hallway filled with mirrors again, each one showing a version of Ethan, writing, burning, dying, waking. Asterisk, how do I stop it? He pleaded. Asterisk, she raised her hand, and one mirror floated forward. Inside it, Ethan saw a modern apartment. A man sitting at a computer. It will be. The curse spreads through the story. Anyone who reads or writes it becomes part of the loop. Asterisk, he stared as the man in the mirror paused, sensing something, then looked straight back at him. Asterisk, the reflection whispered, stop reading. The glass shattered. Darkness swallowed everything. When Ethan awoke, he was in a hospital bed. A doctor leaned over him. Asterisk, Mr. Cole, you've been unconscious for 3 days. Found you near the old Duskwood site. Asterisk, Ethan tried to speak, but his throat was raw. The motel. Asterisk, the doctor shook her head. There's no motel there. Hasn't been for 70 years. Asterisk, she handed him a notebook they'd found in his coat pocket. This was with you. The cover read, The Shadows of Duskwood by Ethan Cole. He opened it. Blank pages stared back at him, except the last one, greater than, to whoever reads this, beware. The story writes itself. Asterisk, his pulse quickened. The hospital lights flickered. From the window, he could see the forest, Duskwood, and, at its heart, the faint glow of a single room light. Asterisk, he whispered, it's still there. Asterisk, a nurse entered with a tray. You're lucky, Mr. Cole. People say that place is cursed. Asterisk, he froze. You know about it. Asterisk, she smiled, faintly. Everyone does. There's even a podcast now, The Whispering Motel. He stared at her, dread spreading through him. Who wrote it? He asked. Asterisk, she paused, thinking. It just appeared online one night. No author listed. Asterisk, Ethan's heart stopped. He reached for the notebook again, but it wasn't on the bed anymore. Asterisk, the nurse held it, smiling wider now. Her voice changed, deep and echoing. Asterisk, you should have burned the words, Ethan. Asterisk, the lights went out. The Shadows of Duskwood Part 7. The final rewrite approximately equals 1,000 words. Copyright Free Horror. C. The rain had stopped. The hospital was silent. Asterisk. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. The nurse was gone. The room light flickered once, twice, and then steadied. The notebook lay open on his chest. The words on the final page were changing. Letter by letter, asterisk, greater than you cannot burn what has already been read. Asterisk, he sat up, heart pounding. Outside, thunder rolled low across the hills. From his window, the forest shimmered as if breathing. Asterisk, he tore the last page from the notebook and crushed it in his hand. Not again. Asterisk, he stumbled out of the room, barefoot, hospital gown flapping behind him. The hallway lights flickered as he ran, each bulb humming with static. Asterisk, downstairs, the reception area was empty. The computer screens glowed faintly, and every monitor displayed the same words, greater than the shadows of Duskwood. Chapter 1. No. Ethan whispered. It's rewriting itself. A voice answered softly from behind him. Of course it is. Stories never end, Ethan. Asterisk, he turned. The nurse stood there, pale, calm, smiling. But her shadow stretched far too long across the floor. Asterisk, you tried to kill your own creation, she said. But you forgot one thing. Asterisk, what? He demanded. Asterisk, she tilted her head. Every story needs an audience. And they've already started reading. Asterisk, the hospital intercom crackled. A distorted voice whispered through it, repeating the same sentence over and over. Asterisk, welcome to Duskwood. Asterisk, Ethan grabbed the notebook and bolted through the main doors. Running into the night, the road wound down toward the valley. In the distance, he could see faint lights, not hospital lights, not car lights, but lanterns. Asterisk, as he approached, he saw people gathered in a circle beside the old forest well. Their faces were blank, their hands blackened with soot and ink. Each held a page of his story. They were reading aloud. Stop, he shouted. You're making it stronger. Asterisk, none of them looked up. Their voices merged into one deep chant. Asterisk, the shadows awaken. The author returns. Asterisk, Ethan's breath turned to frost. He looked down. The ground beneath his feet was pulsing. Veins of red light spreading like cracks through the earth. Asterisk, from the center of the circle. The well erupted, a column of black smoke rising, twisting, forming into the shape of a woman. Asterisk, the woman from the mirrors. The one who had whispered from the beginning. Asterisk, her voice thundered through the trees. You gave me words. You gave me life. Now, give me your name. Asterisk, Ethan staggered back. No, you're just a story. Asterisk, she smiled. And you're just a writer. The crowd turned toward him, their faces shifting, each one his own reflection. He ran. But the forest folded in around him, every path leading back to the same clearing. The well stood at the center, glowing from within. Asterisk, the notebook in his hand, vibrated violently. The pages flipped open on their own. On the last page, new words were appearing, written in his own handwriting, greater than final chapter. The author returns to the well. He screamed, tore the page out, and hurled the notebook into the firelight spilling from the well. The paper burst into flames. The chanting stopped. The ground shuddered. Asterisk, the smoke woman shrieked, her form unraveling, torn apart by the fire. You can't erase me, she screamed. I'm in every word. Asterisk, Ethan shouted back, voice breaking. Then I'll end the words. He dove into the flames. The world went white. When the light faded, everything was quiet. Asterisk, morning sunlight filtered through the trees. The clearing was empty. No well, no crowd, no notebook. Just ash, scattered like snow. Asterisk, a single burned page fluttered in the wind, catching on a tree branch. The words were almost gone, but one line remained. Asterisk, the author burned his story, and with it, his soul. 10 years later, Asterisk, a young journalist named Clara Vaughn, sat at her desk in a small New York apartment. She was writing an article about haunted towns that never existed. Asterisk, in her research, she found an old police file, a man named Ethan Cole, missing since 1958. Inside the folder was a burned notebook. Asterisk, she flipped it open. Most of it was unreadable, but on the last page, faint pencil marks formed one line. Asterisk, greater than if you're reading this. You're already inside. Asterisk, Clara frowned, chuckled nervously, and typed the words into her laptop. Asterisk, outside her window, the lights of the city flickered. For a second, she thought she heard a whisper from the hallway. Asterisk, greater than, welcome back to Duskwood. Asterisk, her screen blinked. The document title changed automatically. The Shadows of Duskwood by Clara Vaughn. Asterisk, and somewhere far away, deep within a forest that shouldn't exist, a typewriter began to type again. Asterisk, Chapter 1. The Return of the Author.